Welcome back to the Alien Spaceship Talkshow podcast. And in case you're just joining us, you're listening to the Alien Spaceship Talkshow podcast with Emmy Hikins and Trevor Gear.
You might get a 1, you might get 4, you might actually get 6. So if you define luck that way, then yeah. But I think that there's a word that you use there, circumstances, and that's what it all boils down to. If I have to go to, say for instance, my local high street today to go and get bread, and there happens to be a car that's failed to brake or whatever, and I happen to be there, I lose my life. Now, it doesn't mean that my brother, my mother, and my fiance to be is unlucky. It's just circumstances, isn't it? Unforeseen occurrences and circumstances. So sometimes it's just circumstantial. I don't think it's luck, but I think some people do have. But I wouldn't define it as that kind of luck, as to the throw of a dice. But I think some people are just very fortunate. Very fortunate. Get certain things just come their way, just like that. And some people have to work really, really hard for it.
Yeah.
Circumstances. But then there are factors sometimes attached to it.
Yeah, you're right. I'm sure that some people equally just seem to have a lot of good fortune in their life. Yeah. Whether some people are just, they have bad luck, whether that's a thing or just circumstances. One story I remember was Christopher Reeve, who actually was a very good Superman. He was one of the actors who played Superman in the 80s, I think it was. And he also loved horse riding, and he flew his own private plane. And he was an all-round good guy, apparently, and a good actor too. Well, there seems to be, you may have heard of it before, a Superman curse that over the years since Superman started, possibly in the 1930s, 1940s, whenever that was, something bad had often happened to the actors who played Superman. And of course, something bad happened to Christopher Reeve. I think it was in 1995, I think. He was riding a horse. He was doing some horse riding, jumping over some gates, that kind of horse riding. And the horse didn't jump properly. He went over the top and broke his neck in 2 or 3 places. Now, apparently, it was said that if he'd been like an 1/8 of an inch either way from those breaks, he would either have died, which may have been almost more merciful, or he would have had no real injury. But as it was, he hit a very bad spot. And you may or may not remember that he was then paralyzed from the neck down for the rest of his days and was in a wheelchair. He had to constantly be helped with his breathing by a machine. And he did some great stuff with his wife, Dana in America there, and he travels around the world doing some lectures through this sort of voice box, a bit like the one Stephen Hawking used to have. And of course he had at least one son, a youngster who grew up during that period that his dad was badly injured. And anyway, Dana stayed with him night and day, cared for him, and he did a lot of good stuff. He wrote a book, actually, now I think of it, which I did read, called Still Me, and it's very worth a read. Christopher Reeve, Still Me, what's saying basically, despite this appalling accident, it was still him. And in fact, I think he got that title because when the dust had settled and he was in his hospital bed, and Dana came to see him, well, she was there most of the time anyway, and he said to her one day, "Look, I know your situation, you know mine. I'm perfectly happy if you want to go and make another life with somebody else," which obviously is a very selfless thing to say. And she said, "No way, what are you talking about?" She said, "No way, you are still you, still the person she loved." And that gave him the title of the book. I think he died about 5, 6, 7 years later in the early 2000s, I believe. Having really made a mark, he talked to all sorts of impressive people and politicians, desperately trying to get stem cell work started. And he came to Britain because we were pioneers, maybe still are, in the idea of growing stem cells to replace broken bones and broken spines, things like that. And that work has advanced quite a lot because of Christopher Reeve and what he did. Anyway, I'm going off track, but Dana looked after him, gave everything to him for the rest of his life. And obviously his son did as well as he grew up into his teens and a bit older. And then I think a couple of years after Superman died, after Christopher Reeve died, Dana was found to have stage 4 terminal lung cancer.
We're going to take a short break now. We're back shortly. You've been listening to the Alien Spaceship Talk Show with Trevor Gear and Emmy Hikins. The Alien Spaceship Talk Show podcast is looking for sponsors. If you're a company out there looking to spread the word about the products and services you provide, please get in touch with Deepstuff Radio Podcast on info@deepstuffrecords.com, or to use the contact form on our website to contact us, please visit radio.deepstuffrecords.com. Also, if you're looking to get involved on the Alien Spaceship Talk Show podcast, reach out via our Deepstuff Radio Facebook page. Thank you.